Hello there folks, this is Ferenc on board again. Welcome to my YouTube channel, a place where I dissect different topics on spirituality and, well, deep introspection, dream interpretation, journeying through other, well, dimensions of existence, and, well, what I call a journey through consciousness, which is also the name of the video game I'm working on. If you like the type of content that I'm creating, feel free to stick around, even subscribe, like and share, especially share since we can all be on the mission to help each and everyone on the planet improve their awareness at least by a bit. Now, I haven't been touching the topic of anime, and well, it's not one of my favorite topics anyways, especially based on the energies that lie around it, not because I would consider it in any way, shape or form bad. I do like somewhat, I don't mind animes, I actually like them, but the point is I don't indulge in things that, well, I won't be spending too much time into, and I usually take a lot of time to study what something would imply and whether that would suit me or not. Now, I've come up with an idea to share to the world, and that idea was why some animes actually have this, what to me is a super annoying aspect and a turn off, oversized breast. Now, the point about this, I'm gonna speak about this spiritually, not because of fetishes and the such. Now, to simple beings, in terms of sexuality and, the lower three chakras of the body, they will govern more or less the idea of want, because the three chakras will be governed by the idea of, communion and being rooted into this world, the idea of enjoying life, namely the second chakra, and the idea of self-control, the third chakra. Now, since society and life will imbalance these chakras of ours, we will never ever, or well, very rarely probably, function based on these three chakras and the other ones being balanced. Okay, so the point is we will be manifesting from different perspectives of these imbalances of the chakras. For example, fear, which blocks the root chakra, sexuality and over sexuality, fetishes and the such, expectations from the second chakra, and bad opinions around money, for example, which is again the second chakra, more or less, and the third one, which is power and control, and a tendency towards control when it comes to imbalances of the third chakra. Now, the point about big breast is usually in animes, as of what I've seen as a pattern, is coupled with oversized breasts, and at times, not always, it is coupled with a belly area. Okay, the female characters area around their belly is sometimes even more thinned than it should be. It is much thinner than it should be. To me, it allowed me, because I usually try to see the geometry behind things and the sacred geometry if possible. The point is, a very thin belly area coupled with big breasts actually helps create the character more of a heart shape. Okay, it creates a heart shape around the character, starting from the the belly area, which is especially made much smaller, and it can actually start from the belly button, which would be the bottom size of the heart. Okay, and then it goes up and follows the shape of the breasts until the moment they actually unite, right, around somewhere around their cleavage, and as they unite they actually form a heart. Now, this is a reminder that the heart space is actually missing. It is a subconscious call towards self-love, and through self-love the impediments of the previous three chakras can actually start to be realized, and therefore someone can actually start and balance them a bit more. Now, the point is, accessing the heart chakra is not necessarily the answer, and it is actually one of the most dangerous chakras to tackle, because it can easily induce people into madness, let's call it madness, since even accidental openings of the heart chakras can lead to people hearing sounds and even voices and even seeing things. But let's not dive into this. I already made a video upon this. I think it's 2 days ago. And well, let's continue with the point of spiritual calling. Now, anime have spiritually been a part of our subconscious. They are a creation part of ourselves, okay? They are something that have been created. So as a piece of creation, they are nothing else than an extension of ourselves, okay? And we can also say that they are an extension of our needs, or they are an embodiment, or they are a supporter, or they are an enhancer of our own needs, okay? The reason why people are even so obsessed with animes is because they are very much transparent and they can portray a lot of things that people may actually, you know, um, how to put it, they can actually feel as if they have been their own experiences. And at times, most of the situations in animes can actually be portrayed as things that or events that the watchers, the viewers, may have already experienced, which makes it even easier for them to, sympathize with the characters. Now, the point about something that is better, it's different than something that is bigger, okay? Bigger doesn't necessarily mean better. And I've been telling people that everything has to have a certain balance, but balance doesn't and will almost never mean 50-50. People who overdo things, okay? People who control things, people who want control in their life definitely lack it, because if you have control over your life, you don't need to induce it over other people, okay? If you lack control over your life, you will seek people to control you, or you will seek to control other people. And I also have a video on which I discuss why control is a reversed thing, and why the slave is the master, and why the master is the slave. Of course, this is not entirely true. There are possible interpretations, but at least I tackle a bit of that as well. Now, oversized aspects mean that there is an excess of something, okay, within that character, and there is also a lack with regards to that as well, okay? As the chakras function, they will have a certain influence on people, and if certain activity is greater within, certain chakras, it's because there is an energy excess at that area, which means that other chakras will be somewhat lower functional, and this will be represented by a lot of um, a lot of imbalances. This is actually a way that you can somewhat read people, but don't make too many assumptions and interpretations, because they won't necessarily serve you too much. Creating characters that are oversized in certain aspects usually implies certain things, okay? They If a person becomes a creator, okay, they have been touched in a way by madness. They have become a manifestor of creation, and that is why they are called a creator. They are a co-creator of existence, and in their journey to experience life in the name of consciousness, they are connected to those sources that will feed them what they want, what the collective consciousness requires, okay? And for example, nowadays we are ascending to the 4th D level of awareness, which is that of love. And the point is, there is very little love in this world, and there will be a lot of things to remind you of this. People who create animes with, anime characters with big breasts, they may not most likely they may not know why they are creating this, but oversized breasts are a symbol of the lack of female energy in this world. Female energy has always existed, but it usually has been disregarded due to consciousness's will of experiencing through us what a paternal society and a paternal way of life is. That is why we have been guided on this path of existence. There is nothing bad or wrong in our approach to life. We have just been guided by consciousness, and consciousness is so dependent on experiencing through each and every facet of itself that it actually puts the whole universe at the feet of those beings. It just requires a whole level of awareness to realize this. That once you realize that you have the whole universe at your feet, you can actually manifest whatever you want, and those manifestations are just the results of your existence. And those results will happen because consciousness is curious what it can create and how it can expand through your own limited perspective. Okay, by creating more self-limitations, it actually expands itself. That's how consciousness exists. Now, the purpose of something big is to undermine different ideas. Certain characters that have, for example, lips that are very small, usually will imply that they don't use their voice too much. Okay, small lips may be a representative of the voice, the chakra of sound. Okay, the fifth chakra, the throat chakra. Okay, this is not something that can be applied to all characters. Okay, don't try to, create chakra interpretations on characters. I'm just willing to portray those things into the mechanics of our existence. Okay, all the characters that you see in anime, they are subconsciously impregnated into your mind, so that when you reach a certain level of awareness, you will realize that they are just a reminder of certain things that are missing within both you and humanity at large. Small lips for characters are a representative of two things. Those people either don't talk too much, or they are introspective beings, and when they talk something, they usually present something deep that will simply silence other people. Or they can represent the kind of character that simply talks little, and when they speak, they just silence others, because usually small lips are the representative of, can be a representative of shady characters, or characters that have a great power of the voice, and can simply silence others just with a few words. They don't need to speak much, hence the representative of a small mouth. Big mouths usually present characters that have a lot of voice power represented by charm and other things. Okay, characters that have a small mouth usually don't necessarily present a big charm. They are more silent. They can be shadier beings, and again, this is not something generalizable. Okay, characters with a big mouth can actually be a representative of slight narcissistic behavior, or features, not narcissism itself. It can be a representative of a will to control, because people who speak a lot, they are willing to control others, because whoever controls the conversation controls the people in there as well. But at the same time, they are feeding themselves with the energy that the other people are emitting. So if those people aren't emitting good energies, it is not good to try to control them. But again, misery loves company. So again, the point with big breast is a reminder of the fact that female energy is not manifested the way it should, and because of the three lower chakras imbalances, okay, everything will be manifested more or less through a fetishistic viewpoint, in the sense of masturbation and sacrificing your own life energy just for the sake of pleasing some sexual parasites. Okay, sexual spiritual parasites who just love life force so much that they will force it out of other people, and they will parasite other people just because they are in need of such life force. That is why certain people will always masturbate at a certain interval, and that interval kind of can depict how often those beings can get hungry. Okay, and the lack of self-love is what invites those beings in. Okay, you don't deal with those beings by killing them, because you can kill some of these beings, you can actually kill them entirely, but what you have done is, it's like you deal with the parasite, but the point is the problem is still there. Spiritual parasites will always come because there is an invitation for them. There is a situation or something within you that invites them. Okay, lack of something. Usually the lack of something is what invites parasites in. And big breasts will always signify the absence of love, okay, especially that of self-love. and care for other people, okay? And those characters will carry the burden of having oversized breasts, okay? Because through this, they are a reminder that love, there needs to be more of that in this world, because unity will always prevail, okay? Now, the importance of breasts to our brain, to our mind, is, we will always perceive breasts, at least subconsciously, as a way of protection, okay? So oversized breasts can also be a sign of overprotection, which can be a signal of narcissism as well, because narcissism will usually present itself, even if it is not fully fledged, it will present itself through ways of overprotecting others, suffocating them with so-called love and overprotection, or a care and lack of love for others, which is the other extreme. Both of these stem from traumas that were dealt by parents, and usually the children will become more or less something like that, and the vicious cycle continues. Now, these generations that come nowadays, the generations that have come from the 60s and 70s, their purpose is to stop this and, reduce the great influence of this repetitive cycle as much as possible. And of course, this has been done throughout the course of time, and it is finally the time that it stops, okay? And the newer and newer generations actually will suffer more and more because of these sudden changes, okay? These previous generations will still be kept, and they will still suffer from this vicious death spiral, okay? And these newer generations, which are much more in tune with their emotions, they will actually suffer more, because they will actually have more traumas, because through these traumas that they're feeling, they're also feeling the traumas of previous lives that they had and of previous generations. So the point is, they actually have a lot more work to do, and even going through these emotions of trauma and fear and disappointment and lack of love and self-love, they are actually curing some of these manifestations from the collective consciousness of the mind. It is one of the purposes why the younger generations have come. The oversized breasts will be a reminder that so long as you lack self-love, you will always see those breasts as a necessity, okay? Because you want protection. If you don't have control over your life, you don't know who and what you are, and you don't have self-love, you will always cling for protection, because you will have only illusions representing you, and those illusions will also be, well, apart from fake, they are things that, when created, they need to survive. Basically, the fears that you are feeling are nothing else than results of your own mind. When you're creating lacks or necessities of things, those manifestations that you create, okay, through your mind, through your mental power, you create thought forms, okay? And those thought forms being born under the influence of lack, well, the point is, once those things are created, okay, you will probably think more and more of those, because once created, they will require a maintenance, and the only way they can be maintained is by making you think of those again and again, and that is why people will so easily get distracted again and again and again. And the more they think of those, the more insecurities they create, because they create more and more thought forms that plague their mind. It's like you're suddenly an organism and you decide that you want to virus yourself, because why not? And the more you virus yourself, those viruses' only way of existing is if they force you to think more and more of themselves. You can actually see this pattern in the way viruses actually multiply, okay? They enter the body of a cell or of a bacteria, and they force that to multiply the virus itself, because it cannot multiply itself. And through this, you actually create, the so-called death spiral. You'll be thinking more and more of those, and those will become more and more potent in your mind. And, since they have been created from a mentality of lack, their own manifestation will be one of lack. And what you manifest as fear is definitely not your fear. It's probably gonna be 5% or 10% your fear, but the fears and insecurities that you're manifesting are fears and insecurities coming from previous lives you've had, because through manifesting them you're burning them out, you're basically clearing your karma. You are also burning through the karma that exists at the collective consciousness's level of humanity. And well, it can also be that you're still enjoying this repetitive cycle, okay? And when you create certain thoughts like you want a girlfriend with big breasts, or you want a boyfriend that has a big dick, you create such thought forms from a mentality of lack, because you want things only when you don't have them. The mentality of lack that we have been born in simply has us place much more focus on things that we don't have, instead of being grateful for the things we actually have. So whatever things we don't have will always be of greater importance to us, and that is why once we get them, they are no longer important. And that's the case with many couples. Many couples are formed just because, well, people don't like to be alone. And once you have someone, let's say you found your boyfriend with a big dick, or you found your girlfriend with big breasts, they're no longer important, because you've only played this game from the perspective of narcissism. It was only a game of acquiring, okay? You just wanted to acquire something, and once you acquired that something, it is no longer of importance. Probably, your, let's say, parasitic sides will say, hey, I want something that is even better than that. That is why people will almost always be dissatisfied. Whatever they are creating in life, whatever they are doing, it's never gonna be enough for those, okay? That's how parasites actually control you, through disappointments and other such lower states. And when you create a lack of big breasts in your life, what it actually subconsciously means, and this is only for those people who can see beyond initial meanings, is that that person actually requires more protection. A part of their inner child has not fully developed, and it's kind of a zombie functional program, okay? When you install a program in your computer and a certain error occurs, it can actually be skipped in certain situations. But even if you skip that error, a small part of that program may not function, because a small part of it has not been fully created, okay? Because that's what installation means. Something is created, right? And life is also created through us, and traumas induce certain blockages within us that disallow our inner child to evolve. That is why even many adults and even people at old age have the mentality of children, because if your emotional aspects are blocked through traumas, you will not develop your inner child entirely, and that is why people become controlling. Everyone who is controlling is still blocked at a certain age of their childhood's development, okay, of their childhood's evolution. And this was also portrayed by psychologists, okay, and it was portrayed through different levels of evolution, and usually the first three levels, that of the child and the adolescent, are the ones that people get stuck in, because the emotional part is blocked due to traumas, and those things being blocked, they will create, or they will start feeding and feeding more into this vicious death spiral, because through those blockages people can no longer release those energies that they have, and add a lot of shame, guilt, and all these things, okay, that society teaches us, and all these reverse aspects that whatever you want to do is bad, don't manifest your anger because it is not polite, and all such stupid things. These will amplify even more those ideas. So the purpose of big breast is to remind you that you need more security in your life, but the reason why you need that is simply because you don't have control over who you are and what you are. You are ceding a lot of your power, and well, most likely the presence of fetishes in your life is due to the fact that you don't have enough self-love. As we are going to increase our awareness to the level of 4D consciousness, which is that of love and communion, you will see that these fetishes will manifest more and more for a while, until they are somewhat satiated, and through the suffering that masturbation and release comes with, okay, because there is a lot of suffering in that, a lot of the karma of our humanity's existence will be purged, and as we are clearer and clearer of that, we can more easier move into this 4D level of consciousness, and this is that of more awareness, love, self-love, and we will tend more and more towards communion and providing value to others. And you will see that the need for big breaths will simply fade, because they are just a part of someone, and that someone had no choice in this conscious life. They had no choice over how their body will look like. Before they were born, they actually chose how their body would look like through the karmic accumulation that they have been going through before they were born and in previous lives. And well, based on how much karma one has when they die, they can actually reincarnate themselves in even 48 hours at least, or it can actually take them dozens or hundreds of years. Now, those years are what we perceive as such, but in other dimensions they can actually be, just a very short time frame, okay? In order to experience existence, those beings will seek and accomplish a lot of quests that will help them accumulate the karma that they need in order to embody themselves in a body that they will require. And once they embody, that karma of that facet of consciousness will be loaded in the body, and the body will actually be the result of that karma. And people who chose to look in a certain way, they chose that for a lot of subconscious reasons. Just by seeing that person, you will be downloaded into your mind a certain thing that probably you will not be using in this life, probably not even in the next following lives, but it will stay there in your subconscious until you are ready to understand that thing. And if you're not ready to understand, you will see that person or any similar person any times necessary until you realize what needs to be realized. Now, hopefully I have explained a lot on this. I don't want to make this video too long. Hopefully you have enjoyed it, and well, keep becoming more and more introspective. I will keep posting such videos. Well, until next time, you are loved and appreciated. Ferenc Can Bor signing out.